are kind of in the basketball world, or whether if you're in other sports too, like when you're injured, it's honestly more work than when you're playing. So, I've spent so much time here in this building this season, just trying to get healthy and trying to kind of just get back to 100%. And honestly, I think that, if I never was, I obviously played that game in Connecticut, and that's where I kind of felt.
535,000. Hold that number for a second. That is what Caitlin Clark, the player who has single-handedly resurrected women's basketball in America, is earning right now. She is filling arenas that never sold out before she walked through the door. She is generating TV ratings the WNBA hasn't seen in 2 decades. Revenue analysts put her total economic impact in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and Indiana is paying her $535,000 to deliver every bit of it. That gap between what Clark produces and what she costs is the most powerful weapon in professional basketball right now. And the Indiana Fever front office just proved they know exactly what to do with it. The Fever have officially extended a core qualifying offer to Kelsey Mitchell and a restricted qualifying offer to Lexie Hull. On the surface, it looks like routine off-season housekeeping. Familiar faces, teams staying together, nothing to see here. But these are not routine moves. This is precision architecture. The core qualifying offer to Mitchell is a 1-year Supermax contract, the absolute ceiling of WNBA compensation. She cannot use it as a bargaining chip. She cannot take it to another team and come back with a bidding war. The offer is simple: accept the maximum salary and return to Indianapolis, or decline and walk into free agency without that financial floor underneath her. The restricted qualifying offer to Hull is even more surgical. Hull can negotiate with any team in the league. She can sign any offer sheet another franchise puts in front of her. But Indiana holds the right to match it, dollar for dollar, and bring her back regardless. The only way Indiana loses Lexie Hull is if the front office decides a competitor's number is simply too high. Given how precisely her 3-and-D skill set fits this system, that number would have to be extraordinarily high. Read both moves together and what becomes visible is a legal fence, built around the 2 most critical pieces of their supporting cast before outside competition could disrupt anything. Here is the dimension of this story that almost no one is talking about. And it is the dimension that makes every single decision Indiana makes this offseason genuinely irreversible. Caitlin Clark is approaching the end of her rookie-scale deal. After next season, she becomes eligible for a Supermax extension, an annual salary that could push well past $1 million. Aliyah Boston is on a nearly identical trajectory. 2 cornerstone players, 2 looming extensions, 2 massive cap hits arriving at almost exactly the same time. When those contracts land, Indiana's roster math transforms completely. Clark and Boston alone will consume the majority of available cap space before a single dollar goes to anyone else. And here is the brutal part. The WNBA operates under a hard cap. There is no luxury tax. There is no mechanism to exceed the ceiling by paying a financial penalty. When you hit the cap in the WNBA, you stop. Period. Which means Indiana's current financial flexibility exists only within the narrow window before those extensions hit. 1 season, 1 shot to build the most complete version of this roster. Map out the potential starting lineup, and the picture becomes very clear. Clark orchestrating at the point. Mitchell hunting clean looks off the ball on the wing. Hull parked in the corner as the 3-and-D specialist. Stevens at the 4 providing size and spacing. Boston anchoring the front court. That is a lineup that competes with anyone in the WNBA. Not just on a good night, but consistently across a deep playoff run, when adjustments happen and margins get razor thin. Mitchell averaged 20 points per game last season, and a meaningful portion of those came because Clark's playmaking was drawing defensive attention that created cleaner looks than Mitchell had enjoyed in her entire Indiana tenure. That is not coincidence. That is system basketball at its highest level. Stephanie White enters 2026 with the most talented roster she has ever coached, and a margin for error reduced essentially to 0. What she demonstrated in the second half of 2024, after the Olympic break, when the offense was rebuilt around Clark's playmaking, was a genuinely dangerous version of this team. Clark controlling pace, Mitchell operating off-ball in the role she fits best, Hull spacing the floor and competing defensively with real intensity. The results were evident. Appointment television. A playoff push. The first real proof that this group, properly organized, can beat anyone. White has to replicate that, deepen it, and sustain it across a full season, not just a final stretch. If early turbulence pulls the offense away from those principles at any point, the championship conversation stays theoretical. That is the coaching challenge. It is a real one. The Golden State comparison circles these conversations for a reason, because it carries both a lesson and a warning. The Warriors built their dynasty on Steph Curry performing at superstar level on a team-friendly contract, stacking complementary talent around him while the budget could still absorb it. The championships they won during Curry's early contract years required perfectly timed roster decisions and zero wasted moves. The WNBA's hard cap makes that calculus even more unforgiving. In the NBA, you can absorb a bad contract, pay a luxury tax penalty, and keep building. In the WNBA, one misallocated deal to the wrong veteran directly competes with the flexibility this roster needs to function at championship level. There is no cushion. There is no workaround. Every dollar Indiana spends this offseason is consequential in a way most NBA comparisons completely understate. The qualifying offers to Mitchell and Hull are a declaration of intent. This is the core. This is the group we believe in. Now prove it with what comes next. If the front office lands an impact piece, Stevens being the obvious first call, this becomes one of the most dangerous rosters the WNBA has seen in years. If they stand pat, they are a playoff team. Competitive, watchable, but not the team that answers the championship question definitively. Kelly Krauskopf has built championship environments before. She knows what the margin between a contender and a champion looks like at the roster construction level. The question is whether she and Amber Cox are willing to apply that knowledge with the aggression this specific window demands. Because in professional sports, windows built around generational talent on bargain contracts do not recycle. This one is open right now. It will not be open in 2 years. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Because as Indiana makes their moves over the next several weeks, we are breaking down every signing, every report, and every front office decision as it happens in real time. The clock is running. The front office has declared their intention. Now every move they make either validates that declaration or exposes it. We will be watching every single one.